I get me. I found me. I never thought that I would be able to accept myself for the beautiful things, the flaws, the tough parts, the good parts, I tell my clients and staff all the time, there are no bad emotions. There are hard emotions, but there are no bad emotions. And I've never been able to sit, and I'm going to cry, and I never cry. My therapist would be shocked right now. But there's something about being able to sit with yourself by yourself after craving community and connection for so long, to be able to sit with myself and be able to connect with myself and see myself as a beautiful part of the community, and that nurturing myself actually creates a better community for the people around me.
Welcome to Reward, the podcast of The Trust. We are the show specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to build businesses into the multi-million-dollar revenues and beyond, but especially because we know the reward is much greater than that. I'm Allie Brown, and I'm excited to introduce you to these diverse female leaders from a variety of industries, women making huge impact and who are unwilling to settle for the status quo. On the web, visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there. Now, get ready to enjoy this episode's powerful conversation. Lyndie, where are you? Your cute little background.
Beautiful Minnesota. It's quite cold here today, actually. But
how cold does it get there? How soon? Because we're still 85 here today in Phoenix. It's still hot.
The low last night was 39, but
okay.
Perfect hot tub weather.
Hot tub, sweaters, bring on the carbs, right? Bake some bread.
The carbs.
Extra carbs.
This is my season of bread making. This is. I
love it.
Into, I've made this Amish milk bread. My sister sent me a recipe for it. I've never done it. And it was, I thought it was good, but after a day, it gets very dense.
Do you do a bread maker, or you do this all by hand like the Amish? No.
Aggression.
Okay. All right. Well, pound it. Probably feels good.
It does. It feels so good. Highly recommend.
You need that.
Highly recommend.
I love baking, and don't worry, we're not starting a baking show, everyone, but I do need to comment. I never kind of got baking before. I love doing it with my kids, but I'm telling you, I like doing it alone now too. It's very meditative when you're not, and also you're not talking to anyone, and don't do this and measure that. You're very present with it. You have your hands on things that are real, real ingredients. And there's something I totally get it now. Maybe I will have a baking show at some point.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the stranger things have been done, right? Here we go. So I'm so excited to have you on because for so many reasons, and I mean this from my heart, for the person you are, bringing you to our audience and having them just kind of witness your journey, which it's interesting. During the pre-chat, we were talking about how, your story was really just evolving when I met you. And then we were just speaking, I think this was the year of your story. Everyone has their big turning point or multiple turning points in their life and career. And it's been a very powerful year for you, making some decisions you've made. But I would love to go back earlier, if you could talk about, the evolution of who you became and how it led to ToneWorks would be really interesting to start with, if we could start there.
Yeah. I think, a quintessential late 80s kid. I'm a millennial. I've been through every up and down in society that has happened. But I also grew up in a very sheltered house. So I was homeschooled. My parents were part of a very fundamentalist, conservative denomination. And so we spent a lot of time traveling to revivals and that sort of thing, very involved in very secluded type of things. And I don't think it was unknown to people in our lives that I did not enjoy it. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be around community. I wanted to
be a regular kid.
Kid. And that was the opposite. I mean, like door to door evangelizing with my mom. Like there was nothing. And then my parents both became pastors in this specific denomination, but it's not actually, there's no theological basis for it. So they just became licensed pastors, moved us to rural Minnesota. And my sisters and I have an older sister and a younger sister, and we all played the violin. And so that was something that my mom was a piano teacher. She had a degree in music education. So it was just something that we always did. We were a musical family. And, but we were very much taught that everything you do should be for a specific purpose. And that specific purpose was for Jesus, whatever. So everything was always very externalized. Like nothing is yours to keep, nothing is yours to claim. It's all for this higher purpose. And so I feel like,
Mm.
you know, I kept going through like, or I kept going through my life, my childhood, whatever. I'm 6 years old. I'm going through life as if
Let's
I'm
go back and take a look. Yeah.
as if I'm a
When you were 6.
philosopher as a 7-year-old homeschooled mullet. I had a mullet till I was in 11th grade, and I'm not joking.
Could you like, so you, no pop culture, no, I'm just guessing, no TV, no radio, no. Wow. Okay.
And it's interesting because as a music therapist trained, we had to learn a lot of like different types of music depending on the populations we were working with. And when you're in school, they make you do different practica, you know, in long-term care. And that's not what I work in, but so you had to learn a lot of content. And as someone that was told, like, you cannot listen to anything except praise and worship and hymns and like things that will like, I don't know, I'm not going to use all these old terms that I'm going to dig up and traumatize myself with, but you know, it's, I think overall, the thing that I brought with me is that I just wanted to be around people. I wanted to connect with people, and I didn't want it to feel like there was an ulterior motive. I wanted it to be
Mm.
just a space where I was there. It was unconditional. It didn't have anything to do with what I could produce or what I could give. And if you think about the two options as being a very capitalistic view of life and what can you produce monetarily, or a very delusional life in how many souls can you save for the kingdom, where do you exist in that space, like between those
Mm.
two? And me, um just trying to make sense of that, I think I've just been so stubborn that I'm just like, this isn't right. This is like, I've got to figure out a better way to do this. And so that after I graduated high school, there was a year I went to a college that was associated with the denomination that I grew up in for my freshman year, because I thought I was supposed to do missions. I need to use my music to do missions work, and which is fucking bonkers. What? Like, what? How are you a talented musician that could play in a professional orchestra and you feel the need to move to Africa? And like, what? No. There, like the idea that there's only one way to be successful, I think is, and in looking at it, that I think that's just the gist of it. But then going then into college, and I decided, no, I don't want this. I want something different. I do want to do something with music performance. This isn't the place I want to be. And so this college was in Florida. And so I moved back to Minnesota and went to the U of M and did music therapy.
Did
I
you go bonkers your first year because you were like free? Yes.
had an alter ego. I had a college called Lyndie, and there was a Facebook page. It was straight up a Facebook page. Oh my gosh, no.
Because you hear about that when you've been sheltered too long, it's like the corks popped and
I always tell
you
people,
did everything you couldn't do before. Okay, just
Facebook is
curious. So
not there.
and then you got it out of your system, and then you're like, what am I doing with my life, right? So, or
I
you're
would
still
argue
getting
until
it out of your system.
year. I would argue until this last year, and then my therapist said the risk-taking behavior has increased. No, I'm just kidding. But no, like the idea, yes, the Facebook on this day, the memories remind me every day why I can't run for public office.
Right,
And it's
right, right.
everything I did in college,
See,
everything.
we don't have evidence when we went to school of anything. So
And this is when
it's a different time.
Facebook exploded, so I put everything on there. Everything. Any
Right?
Oh my
Right.
god. No. It did a little bit. I went through a lot of driver's licenses because I lost them. I went through a lot of U cards, like the U of M, like ID. No. There was the good old days. The good old days of college.
Mm-hmm.
But no, but that's where I found life. That's like the first chance that I had. I see my life very much happening in decades. So like I see the 6 to 16-year-old Lyndie being very like lost and trying to find some semblance of like this doesn't feel good, but also having like wild OCD and no one realizing it. Just like
Mm.
the intrusive thought land that I lived in was so debilitating. And I had no idea until I was in my 30s that that's what even was happening. And so, like, to be able to see that, like, 6 to 16, well, no wonder when I turned 16 and got my driver's license, I could control the radio. I could control what I listened to. I could hide things in my car that I didn't have to bring into the house. Like, there was this freedom. And so then 16 to 26 was kind of this, like, exploratory, like, that's when I started the business with my best friend. That's when I like was graduating from college and finding myself and like moved to a weird part of town and lived in a hippie house and whatever. Like that was my time to do
That's
and
what
to
your
be
20s are for. They
yeah,
really are. Yeah.
and I
The
did it. I did it.
exploratory. Yeah.
And but then met my ex. So I
Yep.
rebuilt a world that I left. I rebuilt the world for 6 to 6
Ooh,
Lindy. And
interesting.
it's what
Because
I
there was structure there. Tell me about that.
Mhm,
What were you
mhm.
drawn to like that
the
unconsciously?
the safety, the black and white, the rule book, the like even if it doesn't feel good, at least I know. I think I lived a lot of my life with this fear in the back of my mind, but being stubborn enough to do what I wanted to do. And so in recreating, like I basically made an image of what I was told as a child was the successful life. And if I did that, then I would be happy. And so what I found was someone adjacent to the life that I grew up in. But then
Hmm.
I I mean really in this last year what I've learned is it's really not I had to stop asking myself who I wanted to be and I had to look at my business and say who do I need to become to hold what I've created? Like I can't live in this space and in an antiquated idea of balance and love and nurturing and life and meaning when I have something so beautiful and special that I'm in charge of and that I'm trying to
Hmm.
lead and grow. And
Yeah.
so I think we're told our entire lives, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to be when you grow up? And that pigeonholes you so much into just like an idea of success. And I think what I have learned over the last 10 years of owning the business while I was married was a very male dominated idea of what my business needed to be. And it was when I stopped listening to that that it exploded.
So
That
what
was
was
what
tell me more about that because that's intriguing and I think a lot of us go through this, when we I know I did when I first went into business, my only role models were male.
Mhm.
Didn't bother me. I didn't care who I learned from, right? But those are the models that I learned. And then it was like getting the recipe book and you want to follow, and generally that's a good thing. Follow the recipe the first time, right? You don't know what you're doing, right? Don't add mushrooms, don't mess with it. Don't like, I do that even baking, another great, so many great metaphors with baking. Don't F with it. Just, bake it as is. And I taught my kids that. I'm like, let's do it exactly as it says the first time. Next time you'd be like, you know what? This could use some coconut. Let's try coconut. Let's
and
change
it
it.
always
Let's
takes time.
Right. Yeah, let's go crazy, right? So tell me about what you thought you had to create versus where then you're like, you know what, I'm going to change this model.
Yeah. So I think the way that my ex and I viewed it, or the way he viewed it and really caused me to view it, was as a hobby. And this is something like, this was a very niche thing. We provided
Mm.
music therapy for people with disabilities. That's such a, I mean, overall, if that's not the world you're involved in, you might know someone that has a kid with autism. You might know someone who has a cousin with Down syndrome. But if it's not in your everyday life, that's not relatable. It's hard to understand. And so when you take something that's so values based, and like, my whole world revolved around this thing, like, and not in a, I wouldn't say in a bad way, but I mean in like, this is, there was no value placed on family when I was growing up. There was no value placed, so I had to find a place to put my value. And so
Mm.
when I created ToneWorks, these ideas of like, you know, growing up, I was the funny one. That was always like, my older sister's the pretty one, I'm the funny one, my little sister's the smart one. We had the three Walker sisters. That was what it was. And so like, it just trying to figure out where, like, to not be apologetic about what I wanted. And so I ran this business for so many years with this one idea of like, music therapy, it has to be provided in this way at this time for this many minutes, and it has to address this type
Uh,
of. And then COVID happened, and guess what? I can't fucking see on a camera if a little kid is modeling, like imitating what I'm modeling for him. What I want him to know is that, hey, I'm still here. I know we used to see each other in person, but hey, I'm still a connection with you. I'm still a human. I care about you. I want you to know that, like, I'm still here and we can have this interaction. Do I care if you're copying what I'm doing? No. Competence is way different than compliance. I will say that until my dying day. And
mm.
that's the idea. It was just like, wait, what am I doing? And then after that, it was like, what do people need? They need to be in a space with other people. They need to feel like they belong. They need to feel like where they belong is meaningful, and they need to know that people care about them. That's
Mm.
literally it. And I think I created this whole business so that I could feel that. And yes, I have two beautiful, amazing children that I mean, my daughter's doll collection is right there. I can't touch it. I can't touch it. Um, she specifically laid them out. So like, I just think of the grand scheme of like, the growth of ToneWorks was so minimal because I thought I had to keep it that way. You got to be strategic. You can only increase by $100 or $200,000 a year. No big growth, which in hindsight, fast growth is not cute. It ain't cute, bro. Like, up close, this last year or 2 years, it was not fucking pretty. It was not good. It was there. There were a lot of great things, but it was not all champagne and milestones. There were a lot of nights Googling which the best, what lawyer is the best, and what should I do in this situation, and what should I do, and has this ever happened? Has this ever happened? Because it was so fast, and
Mm.
so it's almost like an identity lag. Like, I had to catch up to that person that I needed
Ooh.
to own this business.
Yeah.
I think that's just a big piece of it, is that sometimes we build these huge businesses, but we don't build a place for ourselves in it,
Boom.
and that's the reality.
When you were putting together the idea for this concept in the first place, did this already exist in some ways out there, the music therapy? And I know you're about much more now, but generally that was the idea. It was the musical experience for divergent
Yep.
kids and adults, right? You work
Yeah.
with both? Okay.
So
So
when
was this a proven concept already? This has been out in the ether for a long time, or was this relatively new?
So the field of music therapy actually was started after World War II with PTSD vets that came back from the
Mm.
war. And that's where the research started. So there have been very few jobs historically for music therapists. They're usually something like a nursing home, but you're working as like an activities assistant. So you're a music therapist that's an activities assistant. It's not. Now, the field has expanded greatly, especially in the last 15 years. But when I graduated, there was one job in the area, and that was it. So it was kind of like, well, let's start a business then. My best friend, she's still my best friend to this day, but she and I started the business together. And we literally just sat on her front steps in St. Paul, this little house in the middle of nowhere, and just were like, what can we do? Like, who do we know? Who can we talk to? We went and did like free sessions, or not free sessions, but like presentations at any sort of support group we could find. I remember the Down Syndrome Association of Minnesota, which is one of our premier partners now, that we do so much. Like, the number of classes and collaborations we have with them is ridiculous in a good way. And it started because Andrea and I would drive. She would come pick me up because I didn't even have a car at the time. And we would drive out to these churches in the suburbs, and we would bring our one gather drum and our stretchy band and our little pamphlets that we had printed out, and we would talk about like how much we love music and kids with disabilities, and like, come do this. That's how we started. It was just like, we put ourselves out there and we tried to make relationships with people. It's always been based on this idea of community and connecting with other people. And so yeah, that's how it started. There were no jobs, and it started before I bought her out in 2016. So we started in 2013. Before I bought her out in 2016, we had like a contractor that worked for us, very part-time. But then after I bought her out, that's when I started adding on employees and thinking more about other like add-on things. And even what is happening now with this expansion, I will look back at journals I had, and I'll send them to like my director of programming, and I'll be like, oh my god, I wrote this in my journal in 2014, like identical to what is happening today in our learning center was right there on a page. And
Wow.
like, I do think that it's about just trusting what you're doing, and everything that created this space today happened over the years. We started with a summer camp for a week for like inclusive art camp, and then we made it this, and then we made it this, and then we made it this, and I learned how to bill it differently, and then was like, oh, we could build something completely different and fix
Yeah.
a lot of
I love you
problems.
started with the camp idea, and that's just for everyone. When you have a new idea, I see people sometimes just jump into creating the ultimate, trying to create the ultimate version of it. For you need first proof of concept, not
Yeah.
only for the idea but for yourself, because you need
Mhm.
to get so confident saying they want this, they like me, I like it, it makes money, let's do this, right? Let's go. And so doing the limited bits of it, the camps, was very, very smart. I know we're all thinking right now. You're all thinking what I'm thinking. What happened with the partner, right? We hear these stories. They're like, what really happened with her? Did she not want it? Or did you realize, gosh, this isn't a great partnership for the next level? What happened there?
I think it was a combination of, um, so the year that I bought her out was also the year I got married, and it was the
Mm,
year she got remarried. So she got divorced while we were in business together, got remarried. The man that she married had a food truck. That was his business. And she was always the business person. She did all of the like businessy type things. She also have a mom and an aunt that have a business that she did bookkeeping for. So she was very Andrea has always been very entrepreneurial, like, mixed. Like, she's back in school right now for another master's degree. Girl does what she wants. And
hmm.
so it was kind of like, music therapy was her second degree. Like, she is a very free spirit, a soul, like, she is doing whatever. And I think I really wanted to take it and make it into a business that could be something more. And so, yes, it was not fun at the time, but ultimately it was like, there's this, what I would say in hindsight, and my therapist would also say, is that I have terrible communication, but I'm going to blame that on my parents and not me. So I just like it was hard. It was really hard. But we also, when we opened ToneWorks, we also said that our friendship would come before the business, and it really did. Um,
Mm.
and so I do think, I mean, again, we still go on vacations together. We just went on a birthday trip for me in
That's
August.
awesome, and rarely heard of, by the way.
Really
I
hurt.
sadly lost, when I I had a business partner for years, and she was a minority owner. We weren't half and half, but a big part of my life. Flew down to take care of the babies when they were born. I mean, all that. And sometimes when one person wants changes and the other one doesn't want things to change, or the friendship did not survive. And that's one thing that I will always be sad about. But I love hearing when the rare occasion is when the friendship
Yeah.
endures, and that's really, really cool. Um,
Yesterday at court, she was the one I was texting while I was
mm,
there to figure out shit with the, assets. That's who I was there like texting on the side.
I love that. I love that.
I'm
Other
very lucky.
business, you had a crazy 2 years for many reasons. On the business side, lessons learned. I know that, I've had some private conversations with you and you shared in the trust as well. A lot of things, a team growth, maybe something that you'd plan, be like, let's pull that back. Let's do this instead. A lot of like, shifting and changing offhand. What are some things that now and want to share that you didn't know maybe like 2 or 3 years ago even?
I I shared it earlier, and I think it's when you're so focused on building this business that you forget to build your life and a place for you inside of it. And so at the end of the day, if you are just a line item on a profit and loss sheet, what does that feel? What that that doesn't to me, that's what I've been told is success, is what that number is in that line item. But to me, the air gets so thin. The higher up you get, the more successful you are, the fewer people you can talk to about it. And that's not in a I don't mean that in a entitled asshole way, but and when you talk about being a neurodivergent person, and I mean that in that my brain works different than other people's because of my childhood OCD and what has come with me from that now, which is still OCD, adult OCD. But like that I view life differently. I process things differently. When I hear things, I internalize them differently. I everything the way I view life, I know is different than what a neurotypical developing brain would be. And so I have an even harder time being in a room with people that admire me, because to me it's how could you admire, like, it's that whole juxtaposition of trying to like enmesh, like, not feeling personally valued in your marriage and in your personal life, being the leader in a business, intensely fast growth over the span of 1 year,
Mm,
and you start shrinking your dreams just to be relatable. And
mm,
that's such a terrible feeling. And I think I I just I used to think, I joke around sometimes. I know I did at our last trust meeting that I I came here for a playbook. I thought I was going to get a playbook, and like I was a fresh seven figure, cross that seven figure line. I remember talking to Erica on the phone and being like, "Well, I have projections." She was like, "Well, we don't take people on projections. We take people on their actual revenue." And I was like, "I know I need to be in this room." And so that's when it happened, and I flew out and I was there. And I, at the time, I don't think I realized that it's not the people you're in the room with. It's not about being there with them to get connections. It's about being in a room with people like that normalize $1 million problems. I
mm,
couldn't normalize something like that because I needed to rewire my brain. I couldn't be in a space that I could be growing my business and me growing personally to again become this woman that could hold the business I created. Was kind of it. Yes, I manifested it over the years and I built what became out of it. But when you talk about growing by 165% in a year, it's a lot of whiplash. I went from 11 employees to 43. It was whiplash. It was a lot of like, you all of a sudden going to work, anyone could ask you any question about anything. And you either have to like come up with answers on the front side to deflect, or you have to be prepared to answer anything from like, can I leave work early today? To like, I'm not your fucking supervisor. What are you talking to me about right now? Like, I just came here to get a sparkling water out of the fridge for free. Okay. Leave me alone. I'm here for the snacks. I'm here for the snacks. So it just like, I think, yeah, I, I'm so fucking thankful that this divorce happened when it did, because it was stopping me from becoming who I needed to be to have this business and to grow this business and to multiply it and do more. This it and it's
Mm,
this space between, and it feels terrible, and it feels like no one can see you, and you're like, wait, I'm in between these two things. But you it's the rooms that you're in, it's where you put yourself, and it's
yeah.
not always about being the one that shares the important information or the knowledge. You get there. You get there. This idea, I started this when I was 35, this expansion when I was 35. I never would have thought that what is happening now, if you had told me on my 35th birthday, I would not have thought that I would be where I am right now, personally or professionally. Because in my idea, I had a very specific idea of how growth was supposed to happen, and safety, and
Yeah.
what a man's view of it was. I can
Yeah.
rant all day about a man's view, but
I am. I want to talk about the relationships for a minute because I know it's something that it's not talked about a lot, but I am always amazed when I see a marriage endure. Uh, uh, n- the woman growing her business in an incredible way. You often will see it be fine when if the man is growing a business in an incredible way. There's something about the development that a woman typically goes through and the evolution of who she becomes is often very closely tied to her entrepreneurial ventures. It's really interesting. It is an absolute personal growth process for us that I have witnessed to be much dramatically different. Men still go through it, but it is dramatically more powerful for women. It literally is we are becoming who we were meant to be. And it can be really ugly. It can be a traumatic process often.
yeah.
And then but in the end, it reveals who we were all along and the power that we had all along in many cases. And again, I don't want to get hate mail. I'm grossly generalizing here and all that. I don't get hate mail anyway. We don't,
You send it to
fair guys,
me.
listen, we don't even read. Do we read any? We used to, years ago, we'd be like, we would read, especially when I was doing a lot of TV and this stuff. And finally, I told my team, I'm like, none of this matters. Like people commenting what I'm wearing. And like, it was just crazy stuff. Anyway, um, it's, it is a process. And so all of you listening, I just want you to know that if you're going through this, it's absolutely normal. And that's why it's even more important to be in rooms of women who have been through it or are going through it and will support you. And I love what you said when you came in, you were looking for everyone thinks there's like this secret playbook for the next level. It's like you go up 8 levels and then you hit, phase 5. And there's so much more of, an emotional support. And I still struggle to find the words to describe kind of what we do for each other. It's I think a remembrance of who we are. It's a remembrance of the possibilities because you walk out that door and I feel it too. I drive away from the event and then like the world's like everything's pulling you back down. Everything, everything. Regular life right now is emotionally debilitating. Like the
Yeah.
carry that the just survival as a mom with kids in this world currently requires so much energy and weight, everything from school emails to wondering if the world's going to blow up to just all this stuff we're carrying. All the kids are coming to my house for Halloween, which I love, but then I'm somehow doing all the makeup for just all this stuff. And meanwhile, I have podcasts to record. So that I add the business on top of all that, right? We are carrying so much, but in that room, it's like all that's just like it flips away. I remember in that space when we're together, and I get
It's
so excited again too about
it's
why
just
I'm
so
here and what I do and the possibilities of other ways to do it. And so I love that. I love that
yes.
that was the experience for you too.
Yeah, I think the experience itself has evolved since I've like for me has evolved. And I think again, because when I joined, I was like, okay, I had $1 million. So now I need the rule book that's for 7 and 8 figure earners. And then once I get that rule book, then I'll go to Dana Jacoby, and then I'll go to the next one. Like I'll keep moving up until I am whatever. This I don't know. I don't know. But every level of success, it takes different a different circle of safety is really what it is. And that room is
Mm,
it's
I love that.
um, it's not just a room where you go and know that ultimately I know that I could ask any question that I wanted to logistically, strategically on a spreadsheet. I can do that easily, and anyone in the trust would sit down with me and work through anything. I have no doubt about that. But what I go there for is the emotional support, the brain support, the like mental support, because that's what you don't get. At least I don't think you get in just any willy-nilly coaching experience or group that you're in. You there's it's more than just looking at a profit and loss statement. It's not just managing money, it's managing emotions, it's managing human experience, it's managing your ability. For me, it's not just being a business leader and a business owner. I have to know how to co regulate with every single employee that I have. I have to be able to sit down
Mm,
and be able to have a real conversation with you and live my life, but also be relatable. And how do you and the I think the beautiful thing about the trust is the vast difference in like the things that I learn from people. I would never think that I would learn something because it has absolutely nothing to fucking do with business. It has to do with
mm,
being human. And
mm-hmm,
that's what life is we have all gotten ourselves to this place of amazing everything. Like my therapist tells me constantly, Lindy, you need to wake up in the morning and say, your ex that only valued money, you created something that eclipsed his wealth. That's why divorce sucks, because you don't get anything because you are brilliant. That's hard. That's hard to like
mm,
look at what you've created as the asset. But to be able to say that, I couldn't have said that in June of 2024 when I started with the trust. It has taken a lot of glasses of wine, coffee, at these meetings to normalize like I just think of different members of the trust that I always get something from, and it's because I see a part of me in them, or I see a part of them in me. And I'm like, I know that you had a shitty childhood too. And I see where you are, and I see what you did. And you make me feel better about knowing that it is hard sometimes. It's hard to balance childhood trauma and being a mom and being a business owner and wanting to be a badass and feeling like your spouse is kind of shitty, but also being like, I know I'm a badass, so I can only expect you to be so good because I'm amazing. And so, like, the bar, I mean, for a man can only be so high. Let's be honest. So
I'd love to
yeah.
have you and your therapist on. Can we arrange for that?
Well, I
That would
think
be a brilliant show. Okay, you'd have to break some confidentiality, right?
Marcia's
But that would be amazing. Actually, I'm gonna write that down.
yeah, but the trust is kind of like a business therapy. It's kind of like that cathartic, like I am not alone. And yes, everyone else's numbers in the trust are probably wildly different than mine. It does every it's the same thing. I mean, not to relate it to trauma, but every person's physical body remembers trauma no matter what the trauma is. We all internalize it the same way. And it's that same thing. Every woman in the trust has all experienced something that is central to being a woman. And it could be anything, and you could be in any stage of life. And that's something that connects everybody. And
Yeah.
that just goes back to the reason that I started ToneWorks or expanded it is because connecting people for authentic relationships. And that's the whole
It's
point.
it's kind of all we have left. And when you look at where society's going, it will be the most important thing is remaining human, remaining humans. And so thank you for articulating so many things that I often find challenging to express about the trust and what happens in the room. And you have a wonderful way of explaining things. And I just appreciate you sharing a lot of that. And it's been wonderful to have you with us. And I love there's always like some type of story about you after every meeting. Whether it's flying in with, no clothes to the
So cool.
summer mastermind. You decided you were coming, I think 10 p.m. the night before and your luggage didn't arrive, or I don't know, something. Or
Literally kept pushing my flight back and back and back and back and back. And then literally just took my current hinge date to the airport and he dropped me off.
like rolled in like leggings and what's funny is we were just like, hey, come on in. No one was like, what are you wearing? We didn't even like,
no one
no.
cared.
Yeah,
People
it was summer cash.
I was like, I wore this yesterday on the airplane. But, it did. Fashion Island was a great hit up after that, though. That was really nice to go over there.
Yes, I believe you did some damage there in a good way. Totally. So, Lyndie, what I feel like we're going to need a part 2 to this at some point. I'm already making notes, but I'm looking at the time. What is the reward in all of this for you?
Me. I get me. I found me. I never thought that I would be able to accept myself for the beautiful things, the flaws, the tough parts, the good parts, I tell my clients and staff all the time there are no bad emotions. There are hard emotions, but there are no bad emotions. And I've never been able to sit, and I'm going to cry, and I never cry. My therapist would be shocked right now. But there's something about being able to sit with yourself in a house by yourself after craving community and connection for so long, to be able to sit with myself and be able to connect with myself and see myself as a beautiful part of the community, and that nurturing myself actually creates a better community for the people around me. I never had that before. And that is my reward, is that I can sit on the couch and do a puzzle. I can go be a keynote speaker somewhere. I can go walk through Menards with a margarita in a coffee mug and do whatever I want. Like I love me. I love being me, and I love knowing that what I created is so fucking beautiful and amazing objectively. I don't care what a number tells you. I don't care, because that's your viewpoint. And my viewpoint of success is me. I reframed what success was. Success is just me. So.
I love that. Where can people go learn more about ToneWorks and you?
We have a website, toneworksmn.com. We are in the middle of a rebranding. So you could go to toneworksmusictherapy.com. I think the most fun place to find me is on Instagram.
I would agree. That's all I'm going to say.
Woody Biz Lady. I try and keep the levity there. But no, I just like connecting with people, and I like being around people. And yeah.
Well, thank you for opening your, I feel like you opened your soul today, and for everyone listening. I did nothing. I did nothing. It's all you. It's a safe space, right? And the women listening are here for this. They're here for the real conversations. This isn't just another how I built this, let's talk about your revenue levels. It's about, this is what we're about. It is the soul growth. It is the evolution. It is the leaders we become, and the women we become, the humans we become in this process. And that is the reward for so much of it. So Lyndie, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you in 2 weeks.
Yay!
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Subscribe now to the Reward Podcast to be sure to not miss an episode. And don't forget to visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. You can learn more, apply to join us, or refer another woman you know who is over the $1 million mark and is ready for a different type of women's network. We have events coming up both live and online that are truly creating new possibilities for female leaders. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there.